Well, I can remember I grew up during the Depression, and that was when I was, say, 9, 10 years old. Everybody had to work to make a living. And when I was 9 years old, my dad had me following a plow with a horse pulling it, running out middles and helping him work. That day I had he sharpened me a hole good and sharp, and I went through and helped help with him on that, hoeing the stuff, and he'd plow with another horse and all. And we didn't have a cultivator. We had plows that we called them single stalks. And these single stalks, I had my hands up like this to reach the handle. And my father would plow around the stuff, and I would plow and run the middles out on it. And we didn't have a hay baler either. We had to we had a way to cut our hay and we had what we call A-frames. In other words, it stuck out on each side of the wagon. We had a wagon and then a team, and we'd take and pile that hay up on top of it. That's the way we used it. We didn't have a baler back then. But then take that to the barn, and we'd go down behind the barn, and where you throwed it in the barn there was open up way up high. You had to throw it way up there, then get in the barn and throw it back in the barn, and to get it. No, thing that way. And another thing too that most kids don't do today. I had to, when I got in from school, I had chores to do, we called it. I had to get in the wood because we had wood to burn in the heater and in the cook stove. And we didn't, and then I had to go get the milk cows for them to be milked because they had to be milked, and then we sold cream on that to help make a living. And those are some of the things that we had to do on the thing there. I served in the 8th Air Force, 452nd Bombardment Group 729, stationed in Dauphin Green, England, an air base approximately 90 miles north of London, England. I was drafted into the military. During the enlistment process, I requested the Air Force and was not sure if my request would be honored. I don't know why I asked for the Air Force, but I did, and my request was honored. I recall leaving home, traveling by train to Amarillo, Texas, where I went through the basic flight training program. I wish I could recall some of my instructors, but that has been a very long time ago, and my memory is not that good. My basic training lasted approximately 6 weeks in Amarillo. I received specialized training in aviation mechanics while at Amarillo. I think this training lasted about 9 months. Then I was sent to Las Vegas, Nevada for gunnery training, and I recall how long that lasted. While I was getting my basic training, it was up early for breakfast, followed by physical training for conditioning, then classroom study. The food, as best I remember, was okay, and there was plenty of it. My biggest adjustment was living in a barrack full of other men. It was an adjustment for me living a life on a timetable. Everything was hurry up and wait. As for a special life, which was limited, we would get a pass to go into town and watch a movie and hang out with my buddies. But mostly we stayed in the barracks and played cards and just hung out on the base. As stated earlier, I served in the 8th Air Force, 452nd Bombardment Group, 729th Squadron, stationed in Dauphin Green, England, an air base some 90 miles north of London, England. I was an aviation mechanic gunner on a B-17 Flying Fortress, a long-range bomber during that time. Some of my wartime memories. Once our plane had been hit by flak and we lost 2 of our 4 engines, and the propeller had to be feathered, meaning they were turned flat so they would reduce the drag on the plane. We couldn't keep up with the rest of our squadron, so we had to drop down to a lower altitude. It was a very lonely time. We were a setting duck for any German plane to shoot us down. Then out of nowhere came a P-38, a long-range fighter plane that escorted to the English Channel. On another mission, after dropping our bomb, we were returning to our base only to discover our base was fogged in. Our base radioed us as to the location of another air base to land, which was a British fighter base with short runway. We spent the night at this base till the fog lifted from our base. The next morning, our pilots located a runway that would be long enough for us to take off. It had a little hill at the end of the runway, and the pilots thought that by the time they reached this little hill, they could lift off. As we began our roll to take off, going down the runway, I was standing between the pilot and co-pilot when I noticed that one of the controls that was between my feet was locked, and we prevent us from taking off. I reached down and unlocked this set of controls, which permitted us to take off. My pilot submitted my name to be considered for a medal for saving our plane and the lives of our crew. I don't know what happened with this, but never received a medal for the action. Our plane was the lead plane or lead crew plane because we had radar on our plane, and all of the squadron formed up on us. When we started dropping our bomb, the rest of the squadron would drop their bomb. Being the lead crew plane, our co-pilot was the commanding officer of our base. Oh, I tell you, I got it quick. I did it just as quick as I could do it. The control between my feet had a handle up on it here, and it came up like this between my feet. I saw it was forward. That meant that the control was locked. I taken and immediately, as quickly as I could, and hit the control and knocked it back, which unlocked it to where we could take off.
I know the pilot and the co-pilot and the crew were very...
Well, the co-pilot, I know whether the co-pilot was commanding officer, but he didn't see me when I done it. The pilot was sitting there, and he knew what had happened, and he saw me when I done it. So he went to the man that you turn it in to get a medal. And I never did get a medal because I guess he never did get around to putting it in for it or whatever.
Yes.
But I think I really deserved one because I saved the plane and I saved the lives of some of the crewmen, I'm sure, because the bombardier flies right in the nose of the plane. He's got his controls right there, and he's looking right at this plastic cover. He sits right in the nose of it. And the plane would went over this little hill, and it would went down there. And another thing, too, we would have crashed, man, the plane would have been destroyed. It was a very expensive plane back then. And it was a heavy bomber and all that. It was a very expensive plane.
Yes.
And I would have saved the plane too. I recall another mission which I was in December 1944. We had every available bomber and fighter plane in the air from our base and every base in England on that mission. During the pre-flight briefing, we learned this would be a mission during the Battle of Bulge, which was Germany's last big push during the war. I recall after getting airborne, we could see planes in front of us, away behind. I don't recall ever seeing so many planes in the air at one time. On this mission, I flew in the top turret and could see very well from that position. If my memory serves me, in early March 1945, our crew was invited to visit the Royal Air Force Base in Ackenbury. This was an active bomber base as well as a training facility for radar procedures used when targets were obscured by cloud. On arrival at Ackenbury, we were divided into small groups with each service RAF airmen acting as our host and guide during our visit. One of the interesting events of our visit was having to look at the largest conventional bomb used during World War II, a 2,000-pound bomb of TNT encased in steel, almost 4 feet in diameter and over 20 feet long. It was much too large to be carried by an 8th Air Force B-17 or B-24. Only the RAF Lancaster aircraft was capable of handling such a large bomb. We had a look at a Lance with one of these monsters loaded. Another interesting event was getting to fly around the countryside in one of the Lancaster bombers. On completion of our flight, we observed a debriefing of a Lancaster crew that had just returned from a combat mission to Germany. We noted that the procedure used in that debriefing was much like the one used at our home base. as I witnessed our bombs exploding on the ground or whatever they were hit at that time, I could not help but feel a sense of loss, a loss of the lives and a loss of the things our bomb was destroying. One memory I have was witnessing a troop train at a rail station being blown up, knowing that men were losing their lives. It was not a good feeling. I looked down through the bomb bay and I saw those bombs when they hit that. Then on this particular mission, we flew at 15,000 feet. We knew in advance there would be no opposition, no flak or anything. So you could see down, and I could see the train car where there was the station there, and see the track with the plane with the train all on it there. And I saw the bomb, but the squadron was all up and down that train where the bomb hit, from one end of that train to the other. And they blowed it up. I saw the bombs when they hit it, they just raised up and flattened out. Everything was flat. It's something to see and to realize you're killing a lot of people. And I just never grew up that way.
That's right. That's right. But you were doing what you were ordered to do.
That was war.
It was war.
That was war. We didn't have a choice. It was war. When the war ended in Europe with Germany, I was on a ship in the middle of the Atlantic on my way to the United States. I was able to visit my family for a few days before I was to go out to San Francisco. While in San Francisco, I guarded German prisoners of war and was doing that when the war ended with Japan. This marked the end of all fighting. I remember there was dancing in the street and everyone was having a very good time. The ship I was on docked in the Boston Harbor. From there, I traveled by train to go to Gordon, Arkansas, where my dad picked me up. I was at home for a few days before I left by train going to San Francisco. Upon returning home, my family and friends were glad to see me return safely from the war. I lived with my dad and stepmom, mainly visiting and staying with other family members, just catching up on what everyone had been doing while I was away. I was discharged in late 1945. Within a couple of months, I met my future wife. We dated, courted for about a year, then got married in June 1946. Started our family with the birth of twin girls in 1947, then a son in 1953.
Okay.
My wartime experiences made me realize we may be from a different country or a different part of the United States, but we are all in the world together and we need to do our best to live along together. The main lesson I learned from my wartime service was how to associate with other people and people of different countries. Truly wish that mankind could live in peace with each other. War is not a pleasant thing to see or witness. As for a message for the future generation, I would ask everyone to love and respect your neighbors and countrymen. This is what God intends. God didn't intend for us to be greedy or self-centered and just to live in peace. I can't think of anything to add about me or the time I spent in service. I am just thankful for the opportunity to share my stories on my time in the military and hope that in some small way what I have said here today will help someone in the future.